Hello class, today we're going to be learning lesson 2-2 in our textbook, which is all about learning how to solve one-step equations. Now, you've done this before, but let's just review some of the key points that you need to remember. So when you're solving an equation, your goal, let's see if this works. Nope, that's not going to work. So here we go. Your goal is to get the variable, like x, we'll say, all by itself. So that in the end you have something that says the variable equals some number. Okay? I don't know what that number is. So that's our goal when we're solving equations, is to get the variable equal to some number. So if it ever says solve this, you know what you're trying to look for in the very end. And the way that we solve equations is by performing the inverse operations. So perform inverse operations to get the variable alone. Okay, so for instance, if I see x plus 4 and I want to get that x by itself, I'm going to have to subtract. If I see x minus 4, I'm going to have to add 4 to get the x by itself. And so we've done stuff like this. So let's just write these down, that if I see addition, I'm going to use subtraction. And vice versa. If I see subtraction in my problem, I'm going to use addition. It's this inverse operation that's going to allow me to get a variable by itself. Okay? And same goes with multiplication and division. If I see 4 times x, okay, so if I see multiplication, then I want to perform the operation of division. So in this case, I want to divide by 4. And if I see x divided by 4, if I have division, then I want to use multiplication. Okay, so let's just say that for all of these, it's equal to 2. Okay. So now I have equations. There's an equal sign. One side I have an expression equal to some number. Okay. So if I want to get the x by itself, I'm going to have to subtract 4 on the left side and subtract it on the right side. Okay. So the key that we need to remember is whatever we do to one side, you have to do it to the other side. That is the key. Okay? Many people forget that. You have to do it to both sides. Have to. Okay? So let's just do some examples. You've done stuff like this before. So let's look at a couple that I have provided for us. Our first example says x plus 7 is equal to 4. So again, if you ever confused with this before, I'm going to go over it real basic. I see here what's happening to the variable. Well, I'm adding 7. So if I want to get rid of that, I'm going to do the inverse operation. Instead of adding 7, I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. Okay, and I'm going to line them up in nice columns. And I can see on this left side that 7 minus 7 is 0. So I don't even need to worry about that anymore. So I'm just going to rewrite my x is equal to, and what is 4 minus 7? Well, that's negative 3. Okay, so I have found my solution, but we're going to practice today checking our work all the time. So to check our work, just to make sure that I did my addition and subtraction correct, I'm going to rewrite the equation that I have, x plus 7 is equal to 4. And then I'm going to plug in the number that I got for x. And I'm going to ask myself, is that equal to 4? Well, negative 3 plus 7 is 4. So yes, 4 does equal 4. I found the correct solution. It's negative 3. So let's go on to another one. This time I have x minus 12 is equal to 3. I see that I'm subtracting 12. So instead, I'm going to do the inverse operation. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. That key is both sides. Negative 12 plus positive 12 cancel each other out. I'm left with x is equal to 3 plus 12, which is 15. So I found my solution. I have that variable all by itself equal to some number. So let's check our work. Let's rewrite the beginning equation. X minus 12 is equal to 3 and plug it in. 15 minus 12. Does that equal 3? Yes, it does. 15 minus 12 is 3. So I did find the correct solution. You might think that it's a little time consuming to check your work, but this is a really good practice. And later on, you should be able to do this in your head, but some people are just never even checking their work to see if the answer seems reasonable. Now I have negative 6x is equal to 48. Now I know that when there is a number next to a variable, then that means that it's multiplication. Okay, so to get rid of something that's being multiplied, I simply divide both sides by that number. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is just 1, so I don't need to worry about that. I just have x here. And 48 divided by negative 6 is negative 8. So I think I found my solution if I did my math correct. Let's check it. Negative 6x is equal to 48. I'm going to rewrite the equation. Let's plug it in. Negative 6 times negative 8. Does that equal 48? That's why I put a little question mark above it. Negative 6 times negative 8. Yep, that is positive 48. And I'm good. All right, let's do one more. This time the problem says x divided by negative 3 is equal to 9. So I'm trying to think in my head, what number divided by negative 3 is equal to 9? Well, since I'm dividing by negative 3, I'm going to multiply both sides by that number, by negative 3. Okay, and again, negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, so those cancel out, and I'm just left with x is equal to 9 times negative 3, negative 27. Okay, so if I'm going to check my work, I'm going to rewrite my beginning equation, x divided by negative 3 equal to 9. And let's plug it in. Negative 27 divided by negative 3 is equal to 9. Let's see if that's true. Yes, 9 does equal positive 9. So I'm good. So most of these were fairly simple. These are just one-step equations, okay? You're either adding one thing to both sides or multiplying one thing to both sides. It's only one operation, okay? The last one that I'm going to show you, though, is this one right here. It says negative 2/7 x is equal to 4. So this time I have a fraction being multiplied by the variable. So if I see multiplication, the operation I want to do is division. And if you recall, to divide a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, which means flipping the fraction upside down. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to multiply by negative 7/2 on both sides, negative 7 over 2. And these numbers right here, they're just going to easily cancel out. And I'm left with x is equal to 4 times negative 7 over 2. Let's see, that's the same as negative 28 over 2, which is the same as negative 14. So my solution is x is equal to negative 14. At least that's what I think. Okay, so I'm going to check my work here. I'm going to do it down here. So I had negative 2/7 x. Is that equal to 4 when I plug in negative 14? let's see, that's the same as negative 2 times negative 14, so positive 28 divided by 7. And yes, that is true. 4 does equal 4 in the very end. So what I want you to kind of think of, and I'm going to draw a little bubble here, is that when you see a fraction being multiplied by a variable, multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Okay? You need to remember this fact. It's going to help you out a lot. So, as you can see, I already have 3 problems for you to try on your own. I want you to definitely show your work exactly as I did in all of these problems to solve the equation, and then check your solution as well. So, I will see you when you come back to class tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions.